Hello, I am finally here. I know I have been talking about setting up a podcast for many, many years, and I'm finally getting a chance to get around to it. Hi, my name is Micheline Maalouf. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, a therapist, a business owner, and a mental health content creator that focuses primarily on working with individuals within the third culture identity, more specifically Arabs in the diaspora. So my content focuses a lot on talking about our mental health and what the differences might be when seeking therapy and working through some of the challenges that we experience in the world today. I am Lebanese and Syrian, but I lived in Venezuela for a few years of my early years of my life before moving to Florida. So my story is unique in that way, and my third culture identity may be different than somebody else's. And that's the unique thing about this identity is that nobody's third culture identity is exactly the same. We all hold different pieces. We come from different places. We have different lived experiences. But I can share a little bit about mine and how I became who I am today, which I'll do in the future episode. Because in this episode, I just want to introduce the podcast and kind of tell you what it's about and see if it's something that you're interested in following along. So, thank you for being here and for supporting me. Make sure that you subscribe to keep up because I have a lot of amazing episodes planned out for you. I want to interview some incredible people. Some of them you may have heard of, some of them maybe not. I want to talk about mental health. I want to talk about identity. I want to talk about politics. I want to talk about everything that impacts us as a community. And I want to break away from the stereotypes that the world has set out about us. I was having a conversation the other day about even the differences that exist within our communities. So, the label of Arab is a big umbrella, and underneath that umbrella lives a lot of different identities. So we have Muslim Arabs, we have Christian Arabs, we have Durzi Arabs, we have atheist Arabs, we have Arabs from the Gulf states, we have Arabs from Bilad al-Sham, otherwise known as the Levant. And we all hold different identities. And I think a lot of times living here in the West, we're kind of lumped into one category and people don't know much about us besides what the media is portraying about us, often in a negative light. So when I've met people throughout my life here and I live in the United States, it's almost always a shock to them when they realize that I am Arab and I look the way I do and talk the way I do. I don't know what they're expecting, but it's been a challenge. And on top of that, we have the challenge of living in between cultures. So we're still trying to hold on and preserve our culture and the culture that our family raised us with and the love that we have for our countries, the love that I have for Syria and for Lebanon and for Palestine and for all of the things that come with that. And at the same time, the struggles that we face for growing up outside of our home countries and having to assimilate, having to explain to our families why we're a bit different than they are, and the challenges that come with that. A lot of issues that come up within our mental health, trying to navigate these two worlds because we've been told or raised a certain way, and then the society that we're living in is showing us something different, or we're learning something different, or we're discovering more about ourselves, and we get stuck, and oftentimes we lose sight of who we are and we end up living for other people. So my content is primarily focused on helping you navigate all of that, finding you, who you are, while maintaining the importance of that collective. One of the things I always say to people that I work with is we don't ever want to dismiss the collective, but we also never want to dismiss our individual identity because the collective is strongest when the individual exists within it. And oftentimes we have lost ourselves. And so when we're in the collective, we're living for everybody else. And that's where a lot of the conflict arises. We don't have words, we don't have ideas, we don't have a way to get the people that we love the most to be on our side when we want to deviate from what they want for us. So, again, in this podcast, I'm going to be highlighting all of that. We're going to be talking about trauma. We're going to be talking about anxiety, about depression, about the somatic symptoms that show up in our bodies. We're going to be talking about the nervous system. We're going to be talking about what it means to heal and how we can navigate healing given that we're living in the world that we're living in today with the wars, with our lands being on fire. We're not ever going to separate the politics from the mental health because I understand that mental health cannot exist. I mean, no problems. I understand that our mental health cannot be separate from. Let me rephrase that because I'm losing my mind right now. Okay, I'm never. I will never separate the politics from mental health because I understand the intersectionality that exists with every aspect of our lives. Politics is involved, especially for us that come from the Arab countries where our people are constantly being bombarded and murdered, and the propaganda that exists around the world to make us look like the bad guy. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about how that impacts us. Now, a little bit about why I chose the name Mosaic Identity, as you can imagine. Well, I'm from Syria, and we know that like they're so famous for their amazing mother of pearl mosaics, and there's that. But also think about the all the identities that we hold. So wherever you're from, the country that you live in, the experiences that you've had, your sexual identity, your religious identity, there's so many different pieces that put us together to make up who we are um, as a person. So this is one of the reasons that I thought this name would be perfect. And I'm going to be interviewing people that have a lot of experiences with finding themselves, finding their voices, maybe people that have kind of not lived the norm and have succeeded, what challenges they came up against. And I'm hoping that within sharing those stories and then talking about mental health as well, it can help you find your own voice. So, this podcast isn't going to be a debating podcast, but it will have political themes. Maybe we'll have discussions of disagreement, and that's okay, but it will always be respectful. We're not going to police identity or tone police. So, we're going to talk, we're going to allow the feelings to exist, we're going to depathologize anger and rage, and we're going to discuss the importance of these emotions that we have been told have are horrible, or that we shouldn't have. We're going to talk about the importance of sensitivity and how important it is, especially now in this new era of desensitization, where we're seeing everything so much that our nervous system and our body is just kind of used to it, and we're numb. We're going to talk about we're gonna get curious. We're gonna get to a place where we can have these conversations, talk about boundaries, talk about your role in the family, talk about all of the things that impact us on a daily life in the daily life so that we can make better decisions for ourselves. So again, you'll hear personal stories, you'll hear from me and others across the Arab diaspora. We'll talk about stories of migration and grief, stories of softness, stories of resistance, stories that remind you of what you're carrying and that you're not alone in carrying that. And hopefully to make you feel less alone and more like yourself, or find who that self is, right? So maybe you'll recognize yourself in another person. Maybe it'll give you a place to start. But I want it to be yours, and I want it to be something that you look forward to every single week. So if you want to send me a question, if you want to send me something that feels like you want to hear about it or you want help with, please do so. I want this to be interactive. You can send it in a voice note, or you can send it, DM me, or send me a message or an email. And maybe it's a topic that we will cover in the future. I have some incredible topics coming up, and I will talk more about those in the next episode. This was just an episode to just introduce that I'm finally doing this. and to hopefully get you excited about it. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you share it with people that you think it's going to be helpful. Obviously, when we're creating content such as podcasts, one of the best ways that you can support me is by sharing and liking and listening all the way through and subscribing, because that is the way that then my message gets to more people and it makes it more sustainable. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you're following me on my social media channels. I'll put them all in the description. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, and now hopefully on the podcast space. So wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to listen in and subscribe. And thank you so much for starting with me on this new journey.